This episode is sponsored by Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Upcoming featured entertainment includes the Steel Woods on April 26th and Little River Band on May 3rd. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Comedian Dave Attell cracks up the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia on Friday, May 4th. He joined me to preview the show, as well as hype his latest Netflix special and debate the greatest stand-up comics of all time.
Jason, hey buddy.
Hey, Dave Attell. Hey, thanks so much for joining us on WTOP in Washington, D.C.
Well, thanks for having me, Jason. Dude, it's been a busy couple of months. I guess the big news for me is a special on Netflix, Hot Cross Buns. So, to the fans out there, thank you for watching. And it was kind of a cool thing to be back on Netflix.
And I want to tell everyone that you're coming to the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in Charlestown, West Virginia on Saturday, May 4th, and that's like the closest to our DC area. It's just over the line, folks. Hop in the car. People head over to West Virginia all the time. But before we get to that show, since you mentioned it, tell me about how'd the Netflix special go, man. It premiered, I guess, in March. How'd it go?
Well, as of now, all good. I mean, great feedback, and you and I, we know the comedy world, but I guess a lot of the fans don't. It's like the comedy world, like these specials are like usually about an hour. So I wanted mine short. Everyone's attention span is pretty small now with the TikTok and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely wanted to keep it on the shorter side and not on the longer side. And that's why it's about 40 minutes. So people have been asking me, why is it 40 minutes? I'm going, it's for the attention span. I, as a comic, have trouble watching specials now. I usually have to take a pee break in the middle, maybe get a sandwich and then go back and finish the special. So I get it. I mean, shorter is better.
But that's the good thing about Netflix. You can pause it. God, it's so hard because I never want to, when I'm interviewing comedians, I never want to spoil, your punchlines. We want everyone to go see Netflix. But
no, please go ahead, buddy. I'm already working on new stuff.
All right, great. Is there one bit from the Hot Cross Buns that people come up to you on the street and quote back to you the most? Like, is there one where you're like, well, that one worked?
Great question. What happened is the special was actually too short. I had it at 37 minutes, and Netflix said, you got to bring it up a couple of minutes to 40. 40 is where like you get in the algorithm and it's more of it's able to like the data, like they have it all set up for 40 minutes. So my director, the guy who directed the special, Scott Gowlick, super cool dude, very passionate about comedy. He said, we're going to add because we want to be part of that, algorithm. So we put it in at the very end of the special. I played the recorder and I started, I guess, before the pandemic, but in the pandemic, I really dug in. And I played, the special is done in San Francisco at Cobb. So we went down to Fisherman's Wharf and I played the recorder and there's seals there. So it's kind of like, we thought it would just be kind of a fun goof, but it turns out that was the biggest thing people loved in the special. They keep talking about it. People watch it. They watch it with the dogs, like the dogs like the seals. I don't know what it is, dogs and seals, but for some reason, that's the part that really took off. So how cool is that? Usually you add something in and it stinks. That one was like gold. So I lucked out.
You're talking about like when elementary school playing the recorder, the Hot Cross Buns.
Yes.
Okay.
And when I don't play the recorder, I play the cigarette. So I apologize for that.
You just stole my joke. I literally was going to ask, is that a recorder that you're smoking? Or I love,
of course. Recorder.
We got to talk about this Hollywood Casino show coming up because I want to focus on, so everyone check out Hot Cross Buns on Netflix and then come to Dave Attell live at Hollywood Casino in Charlestown Races. So you're saying that this is fully new material. This is not like the Hot Cross Buns thing on the road. This is all new material.
There might be a joke or two from that, but I'm working on new stuff all the time. And like, I know if my fans come out, if the comedy fans come out, they're going to want to see stuff that's being worked on, new stuff, all that kind of stuff. So I throw it all together, but I would say there's going to be a lot of new stuff. And I would say also that, the sweetest plum of doing a special is the gigs you do afterwards. So this one I'm definitely looking forward to. I want to, mix it up with the fans. And also, it's not just a casino, it's a racetrack casino, a racino. So I'm in, I think that's going to be a lot of fun, indoor and outdoor.
Yeah, a lot of the comics we have on have fun with the name. Dana Carvey was like, I like that it's Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. They had fun. He was like, he was doing
Misdirect, but I get it.
you can imagine Dana going, and jokes coming up on the outside. He did some racing jokes.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to burn any of your material, but if they come to that,
Go
like
ahead, buddy.
what all
Burn it.
topics, what all topics do we get into? What issues, what personal stuff are you grappling with? And what's a teaser?
Well, I'm old, so that's what I talk about. My mother who has dementia, and I also talk about just being old. But most of my stuff is just quick one-liners. So I'm not a storyteller. I tried doing that in the special. I have some stories and all that kind of stuff, but it's really about the jokes for me, and it always has been. The whole thing of it is the whole idea of like 2-3 jokes a minute, like that's kind of out of style. But that's kind of how I wanted to roll with it. I wanted to keep hitting them hard, and topic wise, I would say it runs the gambit. I'm not very political. I'm not very confessional. I'm not any of those things. And I know on Netflix, there's plenty of specials like that, but I'm just classic. I just trying to just do jokes. So, if you're into jokes, then that's what it's about. If you're not, then I would say, flip on some NPR and get your fix. So,
you're less the storyteller. You're more of the Mitch Hedberg school of thought.
Wow.
Like little one-liner zingers.
Well, Hedberg, who I knew, of course, he passed a while ago, was a great one-liner guy. He was like so esoteric. And we were talking about it earlier, like me and some of the other comics, about how his cadence and his style has really, you see it in a lot of new comics. You see it in a lot of guys who are fans. And like when you first start out, you're always looking for like a persona. And I could just see it in them, how like Hedberg had a big effect. So in terms of like impact, he was awesome. He really affected us all. I miss him to this day because no one was a better like joke writer, random, left turn kind of guy than him. And his stuff was so visual, So Mitch was like I'd say Mount Rushmore for joke writing,
I'm with you. Yeah, I mean, I quote him all the time. It's like, instead of saying I'm gonna go shave, I think someone else is out there shaving, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna go shave too. It's just there's so many. But by the way, a lot of people put you on that Mount Rushmore, my friend. In fact, we had Bert Kreischer on a couple like last year when you all did that Baltimore. What was it? Fully Loaded, I think, tour.
That was a cool show. Let's talk about Bert for a minute. There's nobody better to other comics than Bert. Bert really he puts together a tour and it is fun. Like there's stuff going on during the day, there's stuff going on at night. So it's almost like you're like on like one of these like paid vacations when you're with Bert. I mean, I'm only doing about 15-20 minutes, and Bert has to close it out every night after like 7 hardcore headliners. You know how hard that is? That's really hard. And it's outdoors and the people are drunk. And of course they're there to see Bird, but still like that's a lot of comedy before you go on. And he does a full show. So I was always like, that is, can I say the term, balls? I mean, like the guy rolls hard and he's good to all of us. So the Baltimore show, I followed Tiffany and she crushed it. Tiffany Haddish, she crushed it. And I was like, oh man. And the crowd was there for me too. But I would say that every show, there's always like 1 or 2 standouts, and that was her night for sure. I was with Bert and Shane Gillis, who's probably one of the best comics living right now. He's such a fun guy, so good. He was on a show, and I was like, God help whoever has to follow him right now, because that guy is crushing it. And Bert went out and he did it. So, kudos to Bert.
Yeah, well, the only reason I was quoting him, well, because it was in Baltimore, but he actually said the quote, the GOAT is Dave Attell. Dave Attell is the best comedian you're ever going to see. And he is the one we're all copying, the one we're all imitating. He is my favorite comic alive, end quote. So,
well, this whole GOAT thing, let's you and me get into it. And I'm older than you. First of all, when someone says you're a GOAT and you kind of look GOAT-ish, like I do have a GOAT quality.
I can see that, yeah.
That is our sign, the GOAT. So there's a lot more to it than just being the GOAT. But there's a lot of great ones out there. Chappelle, I mean, Burr. There's so many like there's never been so many giants walking the earth. So thank you, dude. Thank you. That's very nice. I'm not really good with a compliment, but thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had to throw it your way, but a couple minutes, these interviews, you never know where they're going to go. And you mentioned that Hedberg might be on your Mount Rushmore. Who else would be the other three slots? I know that's impossible, but I'm going to make you do it.
Are these ones like no longer with us,
How about
or
no? Yeah, how about no longer with us, because we just
that's good.
mentioned, we mentioned Chappelle and Burt. We mentioned all the new ones, but
Well,
how about
there's different ones for different like tastes, but for
yeah,
me, I would say Richard Jenny, who really kind of taught me how to write like material. Like watching him, I
yeah,
worked for him also like at the Caroline's Comedy Hour in the '90s, and like it was really a great chance to see a guy who was a power headliner. Like he was a
yeah.
power headliner, and then Sam Kinison, Bill Hicks, those are my guys. Like I really like looked up to them, even though I never got to meet them, although I did meet Bill Hicks. So I would say that those people and my Mount Rushmore, it's more of a Supreme Court. I'm going to take
Go
seven
for
or
it.
eight of them here. Okay, so then there's of course Greg Giraldo and then Patrice, who were like just amazing comics, and I did know them. I was friends with them. And there's a big bench, and Gilbert and Bob Saget, and both of them were so unique and so different that like together it's almost like you kind of get like generations of comedy right there. But
We
Gilbert
can
for
do Bob
sure.
Saget with
And
Gilbert Godfrey in the Supreme Court justice robe stacked on each other, and that's one justice.
exactly. And all of them just basically, we don't know what's going on under the ropes. So I would say this about Gilbert, especially because I was closer to him, that Gilbert, this guy, he could take a street joke or he could take an old joke format and he would commit to it. Even if the crowd was moaning and groaning, he would power through it. Like he didn't care. It's like, it was almost like he had to tell the joke.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about him is that like, whether they got him or not, he was telling these jokes and like he would roll with whatever the audience brought back at him. And it didn't seem to phase him. For him, it was just like, this is what it is. This is what I want to say. And that's what I do. And there's other names too, like Norm Macdonald, who I worked with him briefly at SNL.
Yeah.
He of course was a great comic. Few people know that like how great a comic he was. And recently, Richard Lewis, who when I was a kid in the '80s, we would look up to him. I'd watch him on Letterman and stuff like that. So these guys are all, Joan Rivers. I mean, like for some reason, there's a lot of great comics. A lot of them no longer with us, but it seems like these are the ones that had impact on me. So,
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, of course you
well, I
and
want to hear yours now. Let me hear what it's not all about
oh
me.
God. I don't I should have when I asked that I should have had an answer ready.
Give me two. Give me two.
Well, so see, you probably grew up a little before me. You were what? You were born
I'm
in
way
Queens
older than
in
you, buddy.
60s?
I'm way
Yeah,
older.
six. I grew up in 84. So when I was growing up, it was, stand up was like Chris Rock, Bigger and Blacker and all that was hilarious. And Chappelle was like Chappelle show was like my college years. But who else was big? I mean, Jeff Foxworthy and all those guys were big back then. I'm trying to think
These are all
back.
the living legends. These are the guys who are out there now still
Yeah,
doing it.
well, I mean, Jerry Seinfeld, of course, I love Seinfeld, and then all
Yes.
the, Chris Farley and Adam Sandler and Carvey, like all those SNL guys. That was sort of my jam, and then you got your Will Ferrells and stuff. But I mean, you've been a big one too, man.
I'm just glad to make the list. I was just going to say, there's never been so many ways to watch comedy and then also to all these comedy podcasts. I'm not exactly sure what that really does for the comedy world. I know it's great that it gets to connect to the fans. I don't have a podcast, but I do think a lot of fans want that like connection. But for me, it's always been about the live show and the new
Yeah,
material and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of my friends are really cool. Like they help me promote, and I like going on their shows and everything like that. Like
yeah,
Marin and Bert and Tom Segura and like
yeah,
all these different people, like super cool, Bobby Lee, and like at the end of the day, it's like it kind of shows you that we're all kind of internet connected, but it's really up to the fan of the comedy to like get away from the podcast and come see us live, because that's really what we're all talking about is these
yeah.
live shows. So you can listen to comedy on a podcast, but it until you go to the venue, whether
Oh
it's a
yeah.
club or a theater, or even now they have stadiums doing it. Like you really haven't seen comedy. You really don't get it until you go
Yeah.
see it live. So
You got to go see it live. And I have to, of course, Mitch Hedberg. I mentioned him earlier, but yeah, he would definitely be on my Mount Rushmore. And then you got Eddie Murphy. There's so many. It's impossible if you
there's
want to
so
keep
many.
going back. And Rodney Dangerfield and Steve Martin, and then it goes on and on. But
But let's face it, I'm the guy playing the Charlestown Hollywood Casino.
yes,
I don't take it lightly.
way to bring it back around like a
Go full
true
circle,
pro.
my friend.
But
I
my
can't
butt
wait to go. It's going to be
absolutely.
a 4+ hour ride. I'm
It's
going with my guy Ryan Reese, very funny dude, and we're going to hit it hard. And let's face it, um, it's West Virginia. That means cheap smokes, big laughs,
wild and wonderful, I think, is their tagline.
and that.
um yes, everyone come out to the show. Final seconds. My buddy Ben McMurray is probably your biggest fan. He's been a friend since like first grade.
What's his
He
name?
Ben McMurray.
Ben, Big Ben. Bring him to
Shout
the
out.
show. Where's
Come to the
Ben?
show. He said I had to ask you about Insomniac on Comedy Central
Sure.
because it was from what, '01 to '04, and it was
Yes,
like
it
the
was a lot of
funniest
that.
thing. It was like the funniest thing on TV for a stretch there, you
Yeah,
know.
I don't know about that, but it definitely had a spot. It was towards the beginning of the travel show, I guess, phenomenon that went on because there was a
Yeah.
lot of travel shows. After that, I wasn't the first one, but it was definitely a little different take on the travel show.
Yeah.
And I liked it because, it was my idea, but it was really more about like, we never really knew what was going to happen. So like we would plan on going to a place and that might be closed, or we might hope to be part of like an event and that was rained out. So we were always, it always kept me thinking and it kept me loose and it kept me working on my feet. And I think that's kind of a skill set that I have. So it really kind of like was organic, as they say, for me. But I know nowadays when you watch reality TV, a lot of it is scripted. This was not scripted. So, we might know where we're going and hope to meet a group, but anything that happened there or on the way there was just, it was up to the gods, basically. So, I think the people that did it with me, it was a grind and they really went above and beyond to make me look good. So I thank them always for it. And for the people who watched it, it was really a lot of shows to a lot of different people. Some people it was a travel show. Some people it was a late night job show. To a lot of people it was a drinking show. So it was a lot of different things in one show. And, Comedy Central, to give them props, back then, they always were able to take a comic and like their idea and like give them a platform. So the Chappelle Show, which is probably one of the best sketch shows that ever was made, and the Daily Show and all these different shows, like they probably wouldn't have worked anywhere else but Comedy Central. And it's a shame that like right now there is no platform like that outside of like real platforming, which is YouTube or TikTok, for new comics to like kind of get out their ideas and connect to an audience. So I was very lucky to be there at that time,
What travel show? I thought you hated traveling. I thought because your dad used
I
to beat you
really
with the
don't like
globe.
travel, dude.
Wasn't that one Skanks from the Memories? You said your dad beat you with the globe.
Yeah, thank you. You know my stuff, buddy. I appreciate that. But yeah, I'm not like I'm not a Marco Polo type of dude, like embedded culture or anything like that. I go wherever I went, whether it's Brazil, Japan. I'm like, where can I get a coffee around here? Hey, is there any like burgers? So I'm like the worst travel guy. And like, I do like the late night, I'm still like an insomniac, even though I don't party or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think that's part of my DNA, but I would say for the traveling, there's so many better, like Anthony Bourdain, nobody did it better than that guy. There were so many other types of travel shows that like you really get to see more of the culture, and it's during the day, so you can actually see things. So my stuff was all night. We tried it one time during the day in Brazil, and that was like a weird. It even threw us off. We're like, "What's going on here?" It's early. So anyway, I really appreciate the people who came to see me after they saw it. And I was a comic before I was on that show, and I was a comic during that, and I was a comic afterwards. So this is really what I do. I'm a club comic. And I'm lucky to play these casinos. And, it's weird because like people do everything online now. So when you really gamble in person, you're like, yeah, I'm in it. This is a lot. And let's face it, as an old guy, who doesn't love a buffet? I love a buffet, and a casino brings it. I mean, when's the last time you treated yourself to a breakfast buffet? I want to hear it, Jason. Go ahead.
It's been definitely pre-COVID, which
you do. You got to get out there. Bring your buddy Ben. You guys hit the buffet.
Play some slots. Yeah, the real
slots.
Shirt.
Is that your game? What's your game?
Oh, I don't really gamble that much. Slots or blackjack. I'm boring.
Blackjack is the way to go. Craps, if you got the money. The problem with craps is my legs hurt by the end of it. If I stay there that long.
It depends what kind of craps you got going on.
Exactly. Very good.
Yeah, I think I've had some craps that hurt my legs. But, all right, hey, I guess we'll leave it there. I don't know, we're only down from there. But Dave Attell,
One more shout out for
yeah.
the people. Okay, it's going to be a wild show. It's going to be an adult show, and I can't wait to do it because I've been like planning it for so long now. So the Hollywood Casino, Charlestown, West Virginia. I'm there. It's going to be awesome, dude. Thanks for helping me get the word out.
Yeah, man. May 4th, everybody. Get your tickets. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Right,
hey, dude. Well, you should come see me live. Where are you located? DC?
Frederick, Maryland, which is closer to
Baltimore. What's close for you?
Well, DC Improv or this. Honestly, this Hollywood Casino probably would be close.
Dude, if you come down, come up and say hi to me. So thank you, man. It definitely would be great if you guys, you and your buddies, whatever, come over and say hi. But we're gonna stay over, and then we're gonna drive back the next day. So we'll be there. And if you see me in DC, I'm always at the DC Improv. So another one, you and you guys come down. I love your comedy knowledge. I like that like not just my stuff, but a lot of people. So that's a rarity in these times now. Everybody usually has like their one or two person. Everybody. So
I appreciate it.
So please, if you come by, say hi, get word back to me, and come back and say hello. For sure.
Awesome. You're the man. Thanks so much.
All right, buddy. Have a good one, man. Thank you.
You too. See ya. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.